Hello.
Oh, hello. Give me one moment. I am just composing my tweet.
Oh, go ahead. I can sing my song. Guess who's back? Back again. Talking Trek. Tell a friend. See, that was very funny. I came up with that earlier today. It was very impressive. Anyways, Gary gives me a thumbs up. He's not up to he's monitoring cat food at the moment, cat food duty. He's not up to being on stream today, but he's wandering around in the background. We have to monitor our cats eating because our cats are jerks and will bully each other away from their food. Because that's the way it goes around here.
Cats be like that.
Cats do be like that. It's really funny. Actually, one bullies each other away from all the food, and the one who gets bullied away from the food will bully the other ones away from all the treats. So, I mean, it kind of evens out in the end. Anyways, hello. I am Cole. I'm here in Toronto, one side of the city. She, her pronouns, here to talk about Picard tonight. And on the other side of the city, we have Green. Hello.
Hi, I'm Grain or RC. I'm also. I've never seen an episode of Star Trek in my life. I don't know what we're talking about.
obviously. Never watched all the Star Trek in the world.
What am I doing here? How did I get here?
Mm-hmm.
No, I'm also here to talk Star Trek. I'm reaching for an orange. Yeah, it's been a bit because I've been working weekends, and so I usually stream every week, but that has not been happening because work shenanigans.
Yeah, and last week it was work shenanigans and school, which was trying to kill me.
So I'm just going to I am here to build Lego and talk about Trek.
Yeah, I got two things to do: build Lego and talk about Trek. And you're not all out of Lego yet, unfortunately.
Not quite.
You have all the Lego. Yeah.
This is the other building of the set I built the last time I built Lego on stream.
You'll have to get more Lego for sure, or bubblegum, one of the two. In any case, we've got 3 episodes to talk about tonight because we are behind. But that's kind of a nice symmetry because there are only 3 episodes left in the season, which I am calling the penultimate season of Picard because next season is the last one. But it's lining up really nicely given that we know given that we know that this next season will have the original cast or most of the original cast of Next Generation, except Wesley, unless I don't know, they might sneak him in there. It might just be a sneaky secret thing because he is, as you pointed out, RC the Traveler.
Yep, I would not be shocked if they. I mean, so far he's not been announced, but I would not be shocked if they snuck Wesley into next season of Picard.
Me either, honestly. And I mean, they're lining some interesting things up. I thought it was really interesting in this most recent episode that, in Picard's fairy tale, the Queen had red hair. I'm like, really? Does she now? Because his mom does not have red hair in those flashbacks. But
that is. I did not grok that.
I did. I'm like, does the Queen have red hair? Who else has red hair?
Yeah.
Who will be showing up next season? Aha! Maybe you'll get the precursor to that divorce that you were looking forward to there.
Like I said, I mean, we don't really know what Picard's been up to. We know he got kicked out of Starfleet, but we don't over like Starfleet's refusal to help the Romulans out. But we don't really know what Picard's been up to between TNG and Picard. They very well married.
Yeah,
they very well may have gotten married and then divorced.
They could have. They could have. We don't know. We don't know anything at this point, so it's going to be really interesting. But 1 second here. Just didn't want to cough into everyone's ears. So, but we're definitely leading up to him dealing with, his people, his friends who he's not really friends with. And I think we'll deal with that in the last episode a bit more. But I saw where they were going when in this last episode, and I kind of like it, and I'm really looking forward to it. And I'm not mad about it being 3 seasons. I'm pretty cool with that.
I mean, yeah, like I said, dude's old. Like, dude's in his 80s. Like,
yeah, we were talking about this over Messenger. We were like, dude's pretty old. I mean, we were talking about how also Diana Mulvey, is that it, who plays Pulaski, is quite old too. Yeah,
we were joking about how Pulaski's not coming back, and Pulaski's I don't want to look it up right now, but I think 86, I think is what
she's
it was.
She's only a little bit older, you said, than Stewart.
He's 81.
Mm-hmm.
So now now I am going to go relook it up.
But yeah, they're only a little bit. But even like that's what I said. It was like we were like, well, he's pretty old too. And that must be tiring to be number one on a call sheet. Number one on a call sheet is like tough for anybody and filming a series. And that's why, this Trek series, Picard, is actually unusual in terms of the Trek series because it's not being shot here. It's being shot in LA, partially because, Patrick Stewart doesn't want to come up here. No shade on him for that. I understand if you're 83 and you don't want to leave home for like 6 months of the year, that's fine.
Especially like come up to the cold, frigid Canadian climate to like when you could be in nice sunny LA.
Yeah, I'm sure. I mean, if it affects like your breathing or your well, I mean, there's smog, but if it affects, if you have arthritis, if you have like other problems that it can affect, like certainly you don't want to deal with that. So that seems fair to me. It's not something I'm gonna fault anybody for. If I was old and I could get concessions out of people, I would do literally nothing that I didn't want to do.
But it does. I think that's why. I think that's why we've never seen Peace Do on. I guess we did this season, but
I love calling him Peace Do like he's Robert Pattinson. Our Pats,
Peace Do usually refers to I guess it's J Stu, John Stewart. That's where I got that from.
Oh yeah. Well, it reminds me of Robert Pats. Our Pats. That's what I love to call Robert Pattinson.
I think that's why we didn't see him on any Federation vessels is because Lower Decks and Discovery share a set for the main bridge, so they just they changed lighting, they move some things around, but it's the same set. And that's why Patrick Stewart doesn't want to come up here, and they don't want to build another Enterprise or flagship set in LA.
Yeah.
So I think that's why the ship in Picard looks so different from the classical Star Trek ships.
Oh, did you hear there was a weird rumor? I think it was from Giant Freaking Robot. So I mean, that's it. It's random and probably not true. But there was some rumor that Lower Decks live action equivalents would be on Strange New Worlds, and I was like, okay, that doesn't make any sense whatsoever. How would they do that unless they traveled through time?
Yeah, that seems hot. I mean,
Picard is the only one that they could maybe do, and they'd have to be older, which I mean, their real life equivalents are older than their Lower Decks characters. So I suppose that might make sense when they go back. Picard goes back to their real time.
It seems unlikely. I mean, once again, tonally, even if the timelines don't match up, I think Lower Decks and Strange New Worlds do tonally work. And Star Trek's time travel all over Star Trek, so it's not inconceivable, but
just seems a little weird.
Yeah, it's giant freaking robots. Don't trust them. Just as a rule, just don't trust giant freaking robot.
No, I never trust that site. It was the strangest kind of rumor to me, just because I was like, how do those two match up timeline wise, unless
Yeah.
they're just gonna throw time travel into freaking everything now.
I mean, I guess you could do a Q thing, but
to throw Q into freaking everything now.
well, I mean, he's already been on Strange New Worlds, or no, sorry, he's already been on Lower Decks.
I mean, but that's fine. I mean, more Q on Lower Decks is great. Q on Strange New Worlds, I don't know, man. So they did a good job of faking de-aging John Delancey. I gotta say that he didn't look too creepy for those 2 seconds. Like, he didn't look uncanny valley.
If I were to expect a Strange New World crossovers anywhere, I would expect it on Lower Decks.
Yeah, I can see that. Or I would expect them to figure it. Oh no, that doesn't even work. I would say the Section 31 thing or something like that, but that doesn't even work.
We don't know where and when.
It's not even the same timeline.
Michelle Yeoh jumped through into the Guardian Forever gate, right?
So who knows where she's going to show up? I don't know. That's what Gary was joking actually about the most recent episode is that the government agency is not the X-Files, but Section 31.
I had thought. My thought was Time Police. I was surprised. I really thought that was going to be the Bureau of I forget what they're called. The Time Police from Discovery or from Enterprise and DS9.
No, it seems like there's some sort of spooky Mulder thing going on there.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to get into like the start, so. Remember, remember last time we spoke, I was like, I don't remember. Like,
you remembered the whole situation that you were talking about, the assignment Earth thing, right?
So the reason why that kept coming to me is because the Observer character is from Assignment Earth. That was the Star Trek spy spinoff that never happened.
And the character's name was Gary, which I'm like, yeah, another Gary, a good one.
But the actual observer, or like I forgot the term, was
Watcher.
Yeah, the actual Watcher was his cat.
Was his cat? That's great. More cat watchers. Let's more cats in Star Trek. That's only 3 cats so far. We need more cats. Other than Cations, I guess. Cations aren't really cats though. They don't really count. Cations are Cations. Cats are cats. People. There are boundaries.
I will say that, like, there I finally got it. That was very difficult to do. I mean, Cations are their own thing. Like, that's not although like Star Trek is
they may like getting scritched behind the ears, but you know, that doesn't make them cats fully.
So do Frangies.
Yeah, there you go. So I mean, that's an ear thing, not a cat thing.
But yeah, Star Trek is always better when there's an animal. Like Enterprise was better for Porthos, even if them bringing him down planet side made no fucking sense.
Like Discovery, Linus makes everything better.
Yeah. Although once again, Linus not a cat, but
Linus is not a cat either. Linus is some form of lizard person.
Yeah.
Who needs boundaries as well. Linus has a boundaries problem.
Yes, but yeah, so Star Trek is just better when there's animals in it.
Yeah, for sure.
Like
maybe the dolphins will come back. You'll be able to see them again.
I mean, with the special effects budget that New Trek has, they could do cetacean ops.
You just need some more cetacean ops in your life. You just love them so much. The horny cetaceans are just, you know.
I mean, there are dolphins. We know what they're about. Anyone who knows anything about dolphin ecology is like, they will fuck anything.
Hank Hill will tell you the same thing. It's true.
Well, there is a real life story of a biologist who was told to like I don't remember the exact nature of the research she was doing. She was working with dolphins on behalf of NASA, possibly to weaponize them. I'm not entirely sure. I have
Probably.
to reread. I have to reread the story.
Dolphins with lasers on their heads. Probably. Yeah.
Anyway, she bonded with one of the dolphins and started a love affair with the dolphin.
Oh my god.
And when NASA got a hold of it, they were like, "This is fucked. We're taking her off the project." Dolphin committed suicide.
I am not surprised by this. And on that note, I think we should turn to the episodes. Because that's not a happy dolphin cetacean op story or a happy whale, undiscovered country story. No, that's dolphin suicide story.
It is just like dolphin ecology, man. It's wild.
All right. On that note, time to talk about Picard episode 5. You'll never be bored watching this stream. And you'll learn something new, even if it's something you don't want to know.
I am nothing if not filled with random facts.
We are both filled with random facts of nothing. I'm going to pause for a moment. Just hang on. I'm getting a call, and that doesn't happen very often. So I'm just going to make sure everything okay. Be right back, everyone.
All right.
Hey, all, apologies. Just a quick call from my mom. Just a little family issue. But I will send a message about that shortly. I guess
Easter stuff, I assume.
Well, my cousin's husband, I guess, just got airlifted to a hospital here.
Ooh.
So I guess he's just been having some issues, and they're operating tomorrow. So I'm gonna send her a quick message when we're done, because that sounds a little scary, and she's had a tough year. So yeah.
That sounds like a rough situation.
Yeah, so my mom doesn't usually call when I've talked to her already. So that's just wanted to check in and make sure no one was dying and Doesn't seem like anybody is, knock wood, but it definitely seems like there's stuff going on. Anyways, thanks for everybody, your patience, everybody. Thanks for your patience, RC, and we'll just continue on. So, as we were going to talk about, we're going to talk about episode 5 of Picard, which is Fly Me to the Moon, which was one of 2 episodes directed by Jonathan Frakes.
Disappointingly, not a Neon Genesis Evangelion crossover.
No, there was absolutely no Neon Evangelion, Neon Genesis Evangelion references whatsoever. But someone did play Fly Me to the Moon, but that was about as close as we got.
It wasn't even the same rendition they used in NGE though.
No. So no NGE fans apparently in the writing room, or if there was, no one who was enough of a fan to push that was going to happen. So go on.
Or someone, or they did, and someone kiboshed it.
Yeah, or everyone was like, "No, don't be a big nerd." So the synopsis is the supervisor, Talon, explains to Picard that she is tasked with protecting his ancestor, Renee Picard, the woman whom Q had targeted earlier, because Renee plays an important role in the future. Q approaches Dr. Adam Soong, a disgraced geneticist who is desperate to find a cure for his daughter Corey's terminal genetic illness. In exchange for a vial of medicine that can save Corey's life, Q requests Soong's help dealing with Renee. Seven and Raffi break Rios out of ICE custody. Back on La Serena, the Queen taps into the ship's communications to broadcast an emergency call and lure a policeman onto the ship. Agnes shoots the Queen to prevent her from assimilating the policeman, but the dying Queen injects Agnes with Borg nanoprobes. Picard knows that Renee is destined to find a sentient organism on Jupiter's moon Io, and it is essential that she does not back out of the Europa mission. To monitor at a pre-flight galley, Agnes infiltrates the event to hack the system so they can all attend, but the Borg Queen's consciousness is lurking within her mind.
Borg Queen being sassy at a dinner party.
Yeah. So that was the setup to that, essentially, which was interesting. It introduced the situation with it introduced Corey, who we were asking, where is what's her name? Oh my god, I can't even remember her real-time name now. So sad. We were looking for basically synthetic girl, and she turned up there, and unsurprisingly, she was connected to Soong, and she is his daughter. Gary Radoff was sort of like, is she his daughter? Is she a clone? I bet she's some sort of clone. And that turned out to be somewhat correct.
Yeah, we still don't have a full picture of what she is, but she's not.
There's something not right, that's for sure. Yeah. There's something sketchy about it. And the fact that she is in the future, someone looks very much like her is in a painting that Data had called Daughter. And turns out to be the prototype for Data's daughters.
Issa
Briones,
yeah, is her.
Yeah, woman. Yeah. Her real name, I just totally forgot her character's name.
Oh, okay.
Soji
is, yes.
It came to me now. Yeah. So it was interesting. I thought it was kind of a nice parallel that she had this hidden background from herself in both timelines.
Are they going to do like what they did with Data, where they just have her play every possible ancestor?
Oh, probably at this point. Like, I mean, might as well. Like, I mean, he's playing every possible one.
Honestly, at this point, I just want to see them put him in drag and have him play a female version, a female Soong. Because it's the one thing they haven't done
yet. Like a really old one, gray hair. Yeah. I mean, it could work.
Well, they did get Data in drag. They did get him in drag in TNG.
I don't remember that, actually.
Is in Fistful of Datas.
Oh, okay. Yes, that makes sense.
They had him as a courtesan.
So a few things happen in this episode. We get the heist sequence with Seven and Raffi breaking Rios out, which is great. And Rios, the thing I really kind of like about Rios's storyline, and that they're taking time with, is he really seems to like not like being on Earth at this time, not necessarily because of like all of the horrible things that are happening, but he seems to like having a community. And I like that they're showing that Chris hasn't had, like, in this time where he's working with all these aliens and people from different planets and all of this, the thing that he's been missing is having community, like being part of a Latino community, right? Being able to speak Spanish to people, people understanding his like background, people understanding where he comes from.
Yeah.
And it's really nice to see that and see him going, oh, okay, this is what I've been missing.
Yeah.
I also enjoy how much he likes food. Like, and then that this idea that replicated food is not like real food.
That's
It's very interesting.
the fact that like replicated food tastes a bit off is something that's been brought up in other portions of Star Trek as well.
It's
Like,
not something I remembered, but it's something that he's really hitting hard. Like the peanut butter and having real cigars and like loving the real food. It's very interesting.
Yeah. I'm trying to remember where else has been brought up. I might have this knowledge from the role playing game. It may not. Maybe it's not something that factored into any of the plot of the shows, and it's just brought up in the role playing game.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I do remember there being like something about how like food tastes not bad, but just like flatter, less sophisticated tastes.
Yeah, and that's sort of the impression that you get from what he's doing. Like with the peanut butter, a few episodes ago, he was like, "Oh God, this is what it is. This is amazing," right? So that was kind of fun. And yeah, I noticed it with the prison break, kind of like breaking out of the ICE custody thing, with the way he kind of reacted, spoke to the guy who helped him break out, and the other dudes that he was in there with. It was a real kind of camaraderie, and the way he's bonding with his hot doctor, and the kid, right? Like obviously it's because he's attracted to her, but I think there's something there that they, even though they're from like radically different times, they share a background. He understands where she's coming from. He admires what she's doing.
Yeah. So prior, just going back to prior to on regards to her, I thought they were going to do the Star Trek Voyage Home thing, where she ended up in the same role that the marine biologist who helped them steal the whales ended up, and going to the future. I don't think they're going to do that now, because I
don't know. I thought maybe because of the end of the last episode.
It's there's implications, but here's the thing. Here's the core difference. The marine biologist really had nothing. She lived for those whales. Those whales were her life.
Oh yeah, she can't be pulled out of her clinic. Like, she has people who depend on her. Yeah,
exactly.
And she might be the kind of person who says, if I leave all this behind for like some sort of perfect world where no one needs me, what's going to happen to the people who do here?
And like, so I think they might stay behind. I think she might stay behind and be like, I have to build the future.
And you know what? I can see Chris like really admiring that.
Yeah.
Maybe, oh God, maybe he's going to stay behind.
That would be an interesting twist. There is some building to that now that you bring it up.
Yeah, well, I just thought about it because of talking about how much he's really happy there. Like, I
like
mean, and we'll talk about it. Well, we can just talk about it now because
even after getting arrested and going through like was really generally a pretty traumatizing event of having to go through ice processing. I could see him staying behind it. It would make sense for his character arc.
in Monsters, in the last episode, episode 8, or sorry, is it 8? 7, sorry. In episode 7, he is talking about Raffi's like, you like it here. And he's like, I like the food, I like the energy, you know, I like the people, I like all of these things. Like, you know, the cigar is real, everything's real and important, and things are happening. And you know, she points out it's because of the hot doctor, right? Like, but you know, he's in love, right? But I think
go there.
Yeah. But I think there's something, I think there is something about it where he is finding, you know, that maybe he misses that he misses belonging in a way that Starfleet, like, he does belong in Starfleet, but it's different.
And it solves a problem. Him staying behind, now that we're on this thread, him staying behind solves a problem that season 3 brings up, which is that season 3 is bringing back the entire original cast. They're going to need to start thinning out the cast from this season because that's a lot of characters to juggle.
And some of them make more sense than others, like fitting in.
Yeah,
7 is easier.
7 because 7 we have 7 years of Voyager, and like if they rekindle, if 7 and Raffi rekindle their romance, then that makes sense. Elnor doesn't necessarily make sense. I still don't think I still don't think Elnor's going to stay dead. Like, I'd be shocked if they leave him dead. But like Elnor, on the other hand, that can be some of the fun. Some of the fun is these characters who don't fit meeting, like Elnor meeting the cast of the TNG crew could be real fun.
Elnor meeting Worf, would be great because everybody's gonna be like, "Oh, please don't get yourself killed or get each other killed," because he is a ninja. So that would be very interesting, I think.
I think Worf and Elnor would actually hit it off quite well because they're both outsiders.
Yeah, after a while. I mean, they have a lot of similarities in a lot of ways, and they don't like to they do like the truth. Like, they're very upfront people. So
I wouldn't be surprised if we start seeing closure on some of the characters' arcs, some of the new characters' arcs in this season, because they're like, I'm sure we'll see some characters carried over. I don't think they'll ditch the whole cast that they've built for this show, but I also don't think they're going to bring them all along.
No, it doesn't necessarily make sense.
Pardon?
It doesn't necessarily make sense to bring everyone along, and they just don't have room for everybody in a short season, right?
Yeah, so, like, maybe if they were doing a 24 episode season, like an old classic TNG, but that's the equivalent of another 3 seasons of what they're already doing. That's clearly not where they're going. They're clearly going to do, like, maybe I'll get 12 episodes, but I can't see doing more than that.
No, yeah, you're right.
So, so like, if they are in a place where they have to start resolving plot threads, resolving his plot thread by having him stay in the past because he's genuinely happier there makes sense. This also makes me wonder if we aren't going to see a conclusion to the Borg Queen arc, if that will actually be the thrust of season 3, with Jurati being the villain.
Yeah, I wonder too. It's an interesting thing because I'm very curious now about one of the things that has been sort of bothering / making me think about this is the whole assimilation situation. Like, I understand Jurati and how Jurati sort of has the Borg Queen in her mind, and then the nanoprobes. but assimilating the policeman, and then later on when they're talking in the third episode, we're talking about episode 7, they begin to talk about how she may be able to, if the Borg Queen takes over, assimilate like people on Earth. It seems like before, a vital kind of part of the Borg assimilation process was Borg implants and all kinds of other things. And now they can just inject people with nanoprobes and assimilate people that way.
It
I
makes
mean,
sense.
with Girardi, it makes sense, but with
It
everybody
makes sense
else,
for the
it's like,
queen. It makes sense
yeah,
for a queen. But on the other hand, she is so technologically advanced that she could theoretically like manufacture, because she's not like walking around and assimilate people left and right. But I think she may have to like, but all she needs to do is get herself positioned as a major scientist. Get some equipment, start
yeah, yeah. I'm just
to
sort of
manufacture
like,
implants.
where is the point of the implants? Like, the implants seem to be a very important part right away before. And I'm like, where is the point of the implants and what is the point of the implants if they're not
I mean,
so important
it could be power
right
creep.
away?
It could be power creep, but I don't know. Like, I don't like. I definitely think that at this point, the Borg Queen that we saw at the start of episode 1 is Girardi.
Oh, probably, yeah. Yeah.
And I think that they're going to take the Borg Queen back in time, or like rather forward in time. And that's why the Borg Queen was like, Picard,
Help me.
uh,
Well, it might be Girardi actually looking for help. Like, that's sort
yeah,
of the
that's
theory
that's
because,
that's absolutely what I think it is.
yeah, it's Girardi, like, saved me from being eaten by the
Yeah,
Borg,
yeah, that's 100% what I think is going on. But like, I don't. Early in an earlier episode, I theorized that they would be back off Earth by now, or like this might be the end of the Earth. This like would be the last episode of the Earth by like episode 7, so they could resolve that plot line. Because them resolving them being in the past and the Borg plot line seems implausible in 3 episodes. So I'm wondering if what they're going to do instead is they're just going to resolve the time travel plot line, and the Borg plot line with Girardi as the Borg Queen will be the entire thrust of season 3.
And that's why they're going to need all of the TNG people.
That is because that is a threat big enough to get the TNG crew back together
for one last mission. Yeah.
And then that leaves us with a primary cast of shrunk by 2, which creates more room to bring the TNG cast back in.
So I wonder in Fly Me to the Moon in episode 5 if because what would be, I mean, assimilating the policeman is helpful to some extent because then she has someone else to go out and do her bidding. But at the same point, she wanted Girardi. And so I wonder, or it seems to me that it would have been more her, though she probably didn't want to necessarily die. Like, that is fine as long as she gets to find a way to take over Girardi.
Yeah. Well, I mean, especially like, so like this is why I don't in her case I don't mind not having the implants because it's the queen, special special tech, whatever. So like with her, she's just transferring consciousness. She is at least partially a digital being, so her being like her not thinking twice about transferring her brain makes absolute perfect sense to me.
No, and with Girardi, they had the established connection already. Like, that made a lot of sense to me. It was just sort of like leaping from there to she can assimilate the world was a little bit like, okay.
Again, like, I understand the leap in logic on the TNG crew's part because, like, she can't just assimilate the whole world on her own, but she doesn't have to. She like all she needs to do is embed herself in like a high up government organization and start to manufacture. So it's not. It wouldn't be like a zombie pandemic. It wouldn't be like suddenly. It would be more like It would be more like
She could
body
convince
snatchers. Body
people.
snatchers.
Also, she could convince people that she was making super soldiers or something like that.
Yeah,
too, right?
like yeah.
Any number of things. Yeah.
So yeah. So anyway, that particular thread doesn't bother me. It was maybe over dramatic, but it's a TV show. They go for drama.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And as for suing, I mean, this is kind of interesting that Q is unable to affect things with his powers and has to go through someone else, has to use a human to sort of affect things. And B, that this seems to be the start of eugenics wars.
Yeah, which was actually my original theory.
Mm-hmm. And I guess Dr. Adam Sung, right? Like that is both, I guess they could also be, I wonder if they're related to Khan in any way, or is that a name in there? I don't know. But it seems weird that he's suddenly a geneticist and nothing to do with artificial intelligence.
I mean, it's not like it's pretty far back in time.
Mm-hmm.
So that doesn't necessarily. I did catch that. Like I did think I'm like, oh, that's a change, but I didn't necessarily think it was a huge deal.
No, it's not a huge deal. It's just very interesting. Though I mean, if you look up Noonien Sung, they call him a cyberneticist, which is cybernetics and genetics. So I suppose that's like a connection. And Noonien Sung is in fact linked to Khan. Dr. Sung's great grandfather Eric Sung created the augments.
Oh, I didn't know that.
And played a vital role in the eugenics wars. So
that is genuine, quite interesting.
Yeah, so Eric Sung might be Adam Sung's son or relation in some way. Huh. Interesting. Curious about that.
I guess that might tie Picard into
Strange New Worlds. Yeah, 100%. I'm really curious about that because I remember, Noonien was a Khan name as well. So that's going to be an interesting connection.
It's interesting that's a bit of lore they never brought up in TNG because they don't do anything with that in TNG. It probably comes up in the books.
It may. I'm not sure where it came up. That was just something that.
Though on an unsurprising note, just to die.
It's in Enterprise. Enterprise has season 4 episodes 4 through 6.
Oh, I remember those episodes. Those are episodes where like how the Klingons lost their ridges. I don't remember Khan or Singh being in that. That's interesting.
No, Eric Sung is in it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But either way, books are no longer continuity. They did Star Wars.
Oh, okay. Yeah, at the end of episode 6, apparently Eric Sung expresses interest in making an android.
I remember these episodes. I don't remember this, but I probably caught it at the time. It's been like 6 or 7 years since I watched Enterprise.
Yeah. No, it's just it's interesting, and it sounds like he was doing similar things to what Adam Sung is doing in this Picard timeline, creating children that are genetic supermen. But obviously, Kore is not that, as we see in this episode, because Q only gives him enough of whatever this cure is to show that Kore can be cured, but only for a short period of time. And whatever the sun does to her is horrifying. And I don't even know what the hell this guy has done to make something that the sun basically starts to disintegrate his child or something like that. It's pretty terrifying to watch.
I mean, solar radiation does destroy DNA. That is the thing that solar radiation actually does. That's why that's one of the primary causes of skin cancer. So like if he's cloning daughters, then if it's like in Star Trek logic,
or literally creating them out of a petri dish, perhaps. I don't know.
In Star Trek logic, they may, like, this isn't wouldn't work in reality, obviously, but in Star Trek logic, I can absolutely see how, like, they'd be like, well, sun destroys skin cells, so what if genetic clone daughter was like super dramatic skin destroy where like everything is instant and gross.
Yeah, I can see that. It's pretty awful though. I mean, yeah. Pretty scary. So yeah, anything else about this episode? It's interesting, this idea that there are supervisors that watch specific people who have destinies, etc., etc. That seems
that's a deep fucking cut. That is right from TOS.
Mm-hmm.
It's amazing. One thing that's like I find really interesting about New Trek, and I don't necessarily think it's good. I also don't think it's bad. Is the way it's rectifying the tonal and thematic differences between TOS era and TNG era, but also being more serious and like realistic than both.
Mm-hmm.
Which I have to say that the like we get into. There were things in the. I'll get to it more when we get to the episode. There were things in this latest episode that, if they happened in TNG, wouldn't question them. But in Picard, because Picard has this more sort of grounded tone, really jump out at me as being like, that's goofy and weird.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll get to that more when we talk about the most recent episode. But
okay. Well, let's talk about the second episode, episode 6, 2 of 1, which is obviously Girotti. The second episode, directed by Jonathan Frakes. The synopsis is: with the Queen's help, Agnes gives Picard, T'Lyn, and Rios access to the gala. There, Picard is confronted by Adam Sung, who alerts security that Picard is dangerous. Agnes and the Queen cut the lights and created distraction by singing a jazz cover of Shadows of the Night, which, if Alison Pill saying that, she's really great. I guess she can sing quite well. I knew she was in Scott Pilgrim, but I don't think she sang in that, so good for her. The resulting rush of endorphins allows the Queen to take full control of Agnes's body. Q, having taken the role of Renee's therapist. Oh yeah, they didn't mention that earlier. Q's been posing as Renee's therapist to make her doubt herself. Stokes her insecurity with text messages, and she flees the party. Picard finds her and convinces her to go through with the mission by talking about his mother, who also loved the stars and had mental health struggles. Soong sees Renee and Picard walking together outside and attempts to run over Renee with his card. Picard pushes her out of the way, but is hit by the car and knocked unconscious. After returning home, Soong deliriously rants at Corey. She investigates his research and learns that she is the only one of his children to have survived many apparent clones he created.
Also, she learns that she is not the only one of his children.
The only one to have survived. Yeah, the only one to have survived of the many apparent clones he has created. Yeah. At Teresa's clinic, T'Lyn decides to enter Picard's mind to help him wake up from a memory that his mind is fixated on. Because Picard is in a coma, apparently, but not for any physical reason. He just continues to live through a memory. So, first off, Alison Pill looks amazing in this episode. Everybody looks great, but she looked just like freaking awesome.
This episode was so mixed. It had a lot of things
it was a little weird.
It had a lot of things I really liked, and a lot of things that, like, the musical number is a good example of this.
It was strange.
It's another one of those instances. Had this happened in TNG, wouldn't have questioned it because TNG is kind of goofy. But like the fact that like the jazz band was just like knew a song she was singing and just went along with
we
it.
can play a jazz cover of Shadows of the Night. What? Why not?
Like, and it's another one of those things. Had that happened,
why does she know this song?
Yeah, like, and why did they just go along with it? And listen, had this happened in TNG, because TNG is kind of much more pulpy than this series, wouldn't have questioned it. But in Picard, with its more serious, less pulpy tone, it really stuck out as being like, and it's otherwise a great moment, but just like, why is anyone going along with this?
Well, I assume the guests went along with it because they're like, oh, great, a musical number.
Yeah, but the guests I get because they just thought it was part of the show. That makes sense. But like, why the band go along with it?
Well, my first thought was sort of like, how is she singing this song and why?
And how did the band go along with it? Like, how did they just know? Like, how did the band just be like, oh, well, okay. Like, it made no sense.
That arrangement. Yeah, I mean, it would make sense that they know the song more than her knowing the song.
It makes
but
sense
not that arrangement of the song.
Yeah, and then that they would just like, they'd be like, oh, this is not we haven't rehearsed this song. We don't know what's going on. Like,
no problem. Like, Strange Woman is singing. Let's just play. It's fine.
Yeah, it's so weird. And like, on the other hand, this also had my favorite moment of the season. So like, I just felt this season was, or this episode was really uneven.
What was your favorite moment of the season?
Oh, that inspiring speech that Picard gives to his great grandmother, Renee. Is that her
Renee?
name?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That inspiring speech that Picard gives to Renee, I thought was like fantastic.
It was. It reminded me. It was very much. I was like, because he was pretending to be a security guard. I'm like, oh, this is his Gardner Boothby moment. You know, yeah. Where he gets to be the old guy giving advice. It was very sweet and very nice, and very good of him to be able to do that in a kind way that didn't really give away anything about him. Though, yeah. I mean, I liked at the end where she was like, I feel like I know you. And I'm like, yeah, because you're related to him. So obviously.
Yeah. So yeah, like anyway, so I love that moment. I thought that moment was delightful. And like probably my favorite moment of the whole series so far. Also, I don't know if you caught it. That's that starship she was looking at.
Yeah, that's from the Enterprise credits. That's been I read about it. I didn't catch it, but I read about it beforehand, and I've heard that people have been wondering about like what shuttle this was for quite some time, and it's it's integral to the Star Trek history timeline. So
it's so I talk a lot about like how Star Trek now seems really really self-referential, and sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad. I don't feel that Star Trek is at its best when it's being really self-referential. I really like that one.
I feel like the self-referentiality is mostly like, I mean, it's good to refer to the stuff when you're doing time travel sort of thing and historical sort of thing, but I feel like a lot of the self-referentiality is fan service entirely.
That's why I don't like it.
Ah, okay.
That's why I don't like
it. And that makes sense. Like, because I understand. And I mean, it's not bad fan service to have like a ship named after, you know, the Koenig, or, you know, to have a ship named after you know, the Yelchin, right? Like, you know, that, or the Nog or something like that. The Yelchin and the Nog was really nice.
You know, yeah,
and like that's sweet, and that's just kind of a throwaway line where you're like, oh, nice, they named ships after you know, these guys who died, and
homages like that I'm totally down with. Like that is self-referential. Like you know, like a major actor has died, you name it, like that is, I am 100% on board with that sort of, with that particular brand of self-referentialism.
Like I know, and that's just like, people are like, oh, that's cool, but like, yeah, when it gets distracting, and it seems like so much of like I don't mind it, and I like when it's useful to the plot. But when there's so much that you need to find to go, oh, I need to like read a blog post to figure out what all this stuff meant in Picard because I can't remember all 40,000 things. That seems a little excessive.
And this is why I like that ship being there, because it was, if you got it, you got it. If you didn't.
But then they explained it anyway, right? Like, I mean, I liked it being there. If you got it, you got it. But then he asked about it and she explained it. So
but I don't even mind her explaining it, like, because that's just tech, that's just jargon, that's whatever.
Yeah,
like
but if you've seen it, you understand it. Yeah,
if you recognize it from Enterprise, you recognize it from Enterprise. Otherwise, it's just like a set. It's just set dressing, and I like. I like. I actually like the fact they call attention to it. But I like the fact that they call attention to it that worked in the story organically.
Yeah, and I like those things. I like that they named the in Discovery they named the Starbase Archer, right? I'm like, I like those things are great. That's great that they're still in Enterprise. That's great. Like these are all things that I like. But yeah, when it gets to the point where it's like they're calling it, it's like all the Easter eggs that were in this episode, and I'm like, I'm tired, man. Like, I mean, I understand, like, this is our job. Like, this is our job. This is what we do here. We talk about Star Trek, but like, I don't want to be looking for Easter eggs. I'm like looking for like, what are you trying to say in this show? Not all the little things that you've hidden so I can pass a test.
What's your thesis? We don't want to. Not everything needs to be Marvel. Not everything needs to be Star Wars. I think Star Trek is better off when it's not trying to be those.
Well, and I mean, like I just said, like pass a test, and that's sort of what it feels like. Like there's this nerd culture thing where it's like, well, what do you know about this? Like, do you remember that Eric Soong was in what season of Enterprise was Eric Soong in, and talked about the eugenics wars, and like. Yeah, that sort of thing. And it's like, who the fuck cares? Like, I don't need to quote you like season, and I haven't even watched all of Enterprise, so screw you, right? Like, I didn't like it. So,
and I mean, mileage on specific references may vary. I really like that ship, but I didn't like 10 Forward. So,
I like 10 Forward. I thought it was cute. But that's me.
But I didn't. Like, well, that's what I'm saying. Like mileage on which ones
like,
you like.
10 Forward Street, because I was like, it's not named 10 Forward, it is at 10 Forward. And so, but yeah, I mean, it depends who you are and what you do, right? Like
it's more the broad mentality. I don't need to know where I don't need to know where Han Solo got his jacket. Like,
well, this is the thing. Like, I mean, like, the more. Like, the Book of Boba Fett seemed like a good idea. And then, in some ways it was, and in some ways it was not.
I did not like the Book of Boba Fett.
Well, I know on a lot of levels you did not like it.
It was good when it was being the Mandalorian season.
When it turned into the Mandalorian show, it was a lot better. It's true. And it's nothing, like, it's not Timora Morrison's problem. Like, it's nothing to do with anything he did or oh my god, what's her name? I like her so no, or Ming-Na Wen. It's nothing to do with either of them. It's just, like, you don't need to know everything about all these people.
Yeah. If I were to put anyone who worked on the show, maybe Robert Rodriguez. Like, maybe you could put it on him, maybe. But even then, I think like it's more just it's a mentality of like the Mandalorian was so good because it got away from this, and then season 2 hit and it really got into it. I thought season 2 was weaker than season 1. On the other hand, like it did give us a Rancor kaiju fight, and that was fun. So,
I mean, this is like the thing is like I think. Or a little off topic really quickly. The difference between Boba Fett and the Mandalorian is we never met Mandalorian before. We don't know who this dude is. And like watching his redemption story is different than trying to create redemption story for Boba Fett, who were like, we don't care, we just want him to be a badass assassin who put, Han Solo in, froze Han Solo. Like, I don't need to know about his like tortured background or that he's trying to be a better person.
Yeah. I mean, I would have been fine with it if it was good, but it also wasn't good.
It also wasn't good. There were parts that were good, and there were parts that were not good. And there's just some things that it's like it's like it's like many shows. It's like many shows. I was gonna say it's like Yellowstone, which is parts that are good and parts that are not good. And then you're like, we watched more of it, and then I was watching it, and I'm like, no Indigenous person would never say these things. That's one thing that happened.
I
And I
can't
was like,
comment on it. I've
no,
never seen
no, you would never. No, you just would not. Um, Cowboys are the heroes, and so that's all you need to know. Cowboy landowners who own acres and acres and acres of land. So rich
I
people.
I can't comment on Yellowstone specifically. I haven't seen it.
No,
But,
it's not.
like,
It's a cowboy show.
yeah, I mean, my sister likes it, but she has terrible politics.
I mean, the Indian, I was like, at first I was like, the native people are evil. They're not totally evil. But when you end the last season with the white guy going on a vision quest and seeming like he's like the wolf savior of the native people,
Gross.
yeah, I was a little like, okay, guys, you gotta pull that. No.
I don't know. I'm hoping my sister might be going back to her mother's res. My sister's adopted. I'm hoping that will straighten out her politics a little bit more.
Yeah, and I think that might help. You never know.
So
a song I'm really interested in. He does not. I'm trying to figure out what they're trying to do with this guy.
yeah, I don't.
Is he like complex guy, bad guy? He seems pretty horrible. Like,
yeah, well, at first he was like, okay, your father, you're desperate to help your daughter, cool, and like that's a very sympathetic plot arc.
and it turns out you're a crazy geneticist, and then you ran down an old man.
Yeah, it turns out you're crazy geneticist who ran an old man, and you have been like, you don't so much care about your daughter; she's an experiment to you, and there have been many, and in fact, you so don't care about her that you have created several of her and then murdered them through your own not through but through like just the continued creation of them has resulted in all their deaths, which is,
well, he knew they were going to die potentially. Yeah. They're all named after Greek gods too, or Roman gods. Kore is another name for Persephone, which I thought was interesting because the first one she hears about is Persephone. Yeah, I mean, there's that, and there's also just he talks about Kore being the last one and being determined to save her. And I mean, you can take that in two ways as well. You can take that as like a father wanting to save his child, or you can take that as an ego thing, like, I'm not going to let this happen anymore.
Definitely take it as an ego thing.
And I can understand that.
My first response was to be sympathetic because that's framed that way, and then they flip that expectation on its head. To what end, I'm not sure. Like, we still don't have a thesis for what this show is actually trying to say. I mean, we might not get one until the last episode. Sometimes the thesis doesn't coalesce until the very end.
This particular season, we're not really sure what's going on there. I mean, I think there's a lot about how circumstances affect people and how you choose to do certain things. According to your I mean, I think Teresa is an example of that. Evil Picard is an example of that, right? Like, evil Picard was raised under certain circumstances, but he chose to be like a conquering bastard who has a skull room. And Teresa is under bad circumstances, but chose to, create a clinic where she could treat people who needed help.
That's an interesting. Although, like, the relationship and the power dynamic is very different.
And that's an interesting thing too. Like, you look at that, and Picard had every advantage. Teresa has very few, but still chooses to. be
But,
part
like,
of a community and help a community.
fascism comes out of a certain power dynamic.
Hmm.
And like they got that power dynamic right. Like they got the power dynamic that creates fascism versus the power dynamic of like versus what people who are oppressed by fascism do. So they're very on top of the ball there. But
You can also look at Sung and Teresa too. They're both doctors.
Yeah.
They both have that ability. And what did they both choose to do? One chose to be powerful and try and create life, and one chose to just try and save the people who needed saving.
But Sung is also once again from the top of the power dynamic.
Exactly. He's an older white man, who obviously comes from money. Like, look at his house, look at everything that he has.
Yeah. So like the themes that are in play are very obvious. I just don't know what the thesis is.
Yeah, I mean, they're obviously trying to say something about the world as it exists now, and you know, what kind of future we're going to end up with. It's just like, it seems a little fuzzy about what they're trying to. They're not being very obvious about it. I mean, and that's fine. They can do that for a little while,
like
but
I said,
it does seem still a little.
It may not come together until the conclusion. Like that is sometimes that just happens.
Mm-hmm. It's true. It's true. I mean, it was an interesting episode in that also there was a few good conversations, like the conversation I mentioned with Rafi and Rios, where Rafi points out to, you know, him that she thinks he's got a glow, basically says that she thinks he's in love. But you know, and the Borg Queen senses also Girardi's, Agnes's attraction that she still has towards him, and just takes over her body and kisses him right away. And that causes Rafi and Seven to talk about their relationship, which got actually brought up a line that I really loved. When Rafi says, well, everybody wants to know about us because our pain is tragic and beautiful. Which I laughed my head off, because I'm like, because they're the lesbians, Gary. So everybody wants to hear about them. Which I thought was one of the most meta things that they'd put in the show, to be honest.
We had one episode in TS in DS9. But even through all of Discovery, we have not had a lesbian couple.
No, but I
think Jet, who is a sole lesbian all on her own, dealing with like the death of her wife, and that's a dope. Like, I don't want to criticize that plot line because I think that's great. Like, that is like, you don't see, the only other time I've seen a queer character dealing with like the death of their loved one is like The Last of Us. And quite frankly, while I quite enjoy The Last of Us, that particular portion has not aged well.
No, and I like Jet's plot, and I like that it seems like Jet loved her wife so much and cared so much about her that she's just not interested in being involved with anybody else. You know, that was the love of her life, so that's cool. But I really enjoyed their kind of, like, I felt like that line was a nod to people being obsessed with Rafi and Seven, and I thought that was really fun.
I mean, I was absolutely out there with everyone else speculating on like what their romance would be like. Once again, that's largely driven by just the fact we don't have lesbians in Star Trek. There just aren't any. Not lesbian couples, anyways.
Well, we didn't have a lot of gay couples until we had Stamets and Hugh. So yeah, we have that, and that was actually something I was mentioning to Gary that I really loved. Not just that we have a gay couple, but that Hugh and Chris are actually from where their actors are from, which is one of my favorite things. Because in the next episode in Monsters, you know, Teresa asks Chris, "Where are you from?" And he's like, "Well, I'm from Chile, but I work in outer space."
That is a direct quote. From Kirk.
Oh, really? He said, "I'm from Iowa, but I work in outer space."
In Voyage Home. Yep. He says
That's
that in
beautiful. Well, see, this is, this makes me think more that they're going to subvert the voyage home situation, that Chris is actually going to stay instead of bringing her with him, because, like, as in Monsters, it's directed by Joe Menendez. They actually, he does bring Teresa and her kid to the ship to kind of prove what's going on.
Yep.
And Teresa's kid predictably reacts with joy and wanting to touch everything. I'm going to touch everything. Exactly. And Teresa just smashes her coffee cup. But that made me think right there. I was like, oh, RC's right. She's going to go with them. But, like, I think your argument is a good one. And especially with him echoing that line, I really wonder if he is going to stay. And everything that they've kind of indicated, and just that he seems really happy being a Latino dude in this time, like being part of his community and helping his community, and being able to speak Spanish all the time, which he never gets to do really, except with his, what'd you make?
First floor done.
Nice. First floor of, is it your bookshop?
No, the bookshop is done. I don't want to grab it right now. This is the same set, but the set also comes with an apartment. So this is like a Belle Epoque era, sort of Gilded era or Gilded Age style apartment.
Nice. So yeah, I'll just actually Monsters. Inside his mind, Picard relives part of a memory from his childhood, where his apparently abusive father Maurice chased Picard's younger self and his mother Yvette through the house. T'Lyn helps Picard realize that his mother was actually struggling with mental illness, and Maurice was just trying to protect her and Picard. Picard wakes up from his coma, and T'Lyn reveals that she is actually Romulan, and possibly Laris's ancestor. Picard theorizes that Q may have a personal stake in his trial. Oh, you think? And asks Guinan to summon Q using an Elorian ritual. The ritual fails just as an FBI agent enters the bar and arrests them based on surveillance footage of Picard using his transporter. Rios secretly brings Teresa and her son onto La Serena, confessing he's a time traveler. Raffi and Seven discover the ship's computers have been sabotaged with Borg encryption codes and begin tracking Ignis. They find a bar where she smashed a window and realize that the Queen is trying to create more endorphins in Ignis till she has enough power to assimilate more people and become a new Borg Queen. First off, a couple of guest stars. Maurice is played by the amazing James Callis, who played Gaius Baltar on Battlestar Galactica, one of my favorite characters of all time.
I have been seeing, so I've not watched Battlestar Galactica, but I've been seeing a lot of memes about this.
Yeah, he's just incredible, and he did an incredible job in this episode. I was really happy to see him. And I really enjoy his work in general. He is also in Bridget Jones's Diary, playing her gay friend. Just so if you want to see him younger, or you remember her gay friend in that is also James Callis. So if you've never seen him in that and you know him as Gaius Baltar, that is a fun little trip to take. In any case, we also had the singer in the bar that Agnes goes into. When she smashes the window, she goes in and there is a bar singer. That is Sunny Ozell, who is Patrick Stewart's wife. So that was kind of fun to see.
A little bit of trivia that I recently just learned, not about Picard specifically, but you remember that the class, possibly the best episode of Star Trek TNG ever, where Picard encounters a drone and in space, and he goes through the entire, and he is put into a coma, and then in his mind he goes through the entire,
he lives out a lifetime of this culture.
So the son of the character he played in that episode was his real life son.
Oh I remember that. And that's great. So he's done this before, because he actually was the person who suggested the singer was played by his wife, who is a singer, obviously. So that was pretty cool. She was in there for 2 seconds, but Good for her. So, yeah, I guess Picard. What's interesting about this memory that they go through and Lynn helps him with, in particular, is
There's too much Lego for my tiny workspace.
well, it's always the problem. What's interesting about this memory is not only that Lynn and this whole, I forget what it's called, like neural visualizer or some shit like that. It not only shows Picard that his father, he thought he had an abusive father and all this stuff. I'm like, man, like, you know, maybe you should have gotten therapy a little earlier, my dude. Because this has been fucking you up for a really long time, and now you just realize now.
I really liked I had such mixed feelings about the dream world in this episode. I loved the therapy stuff, and like the fairy tale stuff would not have. Well, this is one of the, like I mentioned earlier. Like there was stuff that, like, had it happened in TNG, I wouldn't have questioned it. The fairy tale stuff in TNG wouldn't have questioned it, not at all. But here it really stood out, just because like the show does have so much more of a grounded feel to it.
It made sense to me because it was in his mind. And that was fine. Like it was representative of his brain space. And so those two things were happening at the same time in his head, right? Like he was both having a therapy session with his dad and being stuck in this and being stuck in this modified memory. Where his mom had red hair, and I'm like, oh my god, his mom has red hair in this memory where she's the queen.
That's
like,
an interesting catch. I did not catch that.
Yeah, because in all the other memories, she has dark hair.
Yeah, I don't. It's more of a tone than anything wrong with. Like I don't think it's. It's not a continuity issue. It's more. It felt a counter, and I don't like it doesn't. Given the context of it, I don't think it's like it makes sense. It just for some reason struck me as a unusual tone. I don't quite know. It just didn't sit with me. I don't quite know why.
It made sense to me also because of the way he has his self-image in this sense. And especially the interesting thing I was going to say about the memory is that they end like Picard wakes up, but Talon is realizing the memory hasn't ended because in the memory he had made it so his father was trapping his mother away and he had to save her.
Yeah, but clearly he let her out, and we don't know what happened after that.
Yeah, he let her out, but in reality, his father had put his mother away because she had endangered both Jean-Luc and herself. Yeah. And was manic depressive, essentially. Yeah. And during a manic episode had left her child in a situation where he could have been harmed.
Yep. And like a lot of I mean, I've lived that reality. That is a reality I know very well. So like I don't it I mean maybe it's the fact that I live that reality that the fairy tale framing of it didn't sit with me. I don't know.
But yeah, I mean I can see that.
I did not care for the framing. Like I said, not that I thought it was anti-Star Trek or didn't make sense. It just didn't sit with me.
And I can totally see that. I think it was just a framing that he felt he was the one who had to slay the monster for his mother. Yeah. But he didn't realize that, she had a monster that couldn't be slain, which is what his father said in the end.
Yeah. Listen, I can't rationalize why it didn't sit with me. It's certainly not anti-Star Trek. There's a classic episode of it kind of reminded me of the classic episode of Voyager where Janeway has to confront the literal embodiment of fear.
Ah, yeah.
So like I can't say it's anti-Star Trek because it's certainly not. It's just the framing didn't work for me.
Yeah, I
And,
can
like,
see that.
saying it didn't work for me is different than saying it's bad. I don't think it's bad. It just did not do it for me.
On the plus side, I feel like it would have been not great if the entire episode was involved in just getting Picard out of that.
Mhm.
And it didn't, the whole episode was not taken up by that.
Yeah.
Which was a plus. So I think it was good that they only spent a certain amount of time with that, even though it limited our time with James Callis, which was a little sad. Which is like, I hope they find a way to bring him back. I don't know.
All the stuff with his father. So the confrontation, once they got past the fairy tale stuff, once we got past like the demons and all of that, the confrontation between old Jean-Luc, young Jean-Luc, and their father, fantastic. Love it.
And all the therapy stuff. Like, I mean, you put James Callis and Patrick Stewart together, and I mean, how can that go wrong? Really, honestly, in my opinion. But I will not make a secret of my love for his performance as Gaius Baltar. People love or hate Gaius Baltar. Basically, it's one of the two, and I think it's a matter of how much you can identify with him. If you've ever thought you're awesome, secretly to yourself, you will identify with Gaius Baltar. Or hated yourself at the same time. If you've simultaneously hated yourself and thought you're the greatest thing in the world, you will identify with Gaius Baltar, I think.
There's a lot of people who can identify with those two conflicting states of being. I think it's very common.
Anyway.
There's a form of like narcissistic depression that really brings that out in people. Where like so depression can be very narcissistic because when you start making everything your fault, everything's still circling around you, it's still all about you.
Oh, depression is very narcissistic. Depression turns people into assholes. And I really don't think people understand that enough. Like, depression makes you a mean son of a bitch. And you're horrible to everyone that you care about. And people are like, oh my God, like depression, you just lie around and do nothing. I'm like, no, depression, you yell at people and you attack them and you push everyone away you care about. And that's pretty much how it goes.
We've both had our experiences with clinical depression, so.
No, I know. I mean, like, that's just the funny thing about it is people are like, oh, depressed people, they don't do much, they lie around. I'm like, no, you're a jerk. you're basically a dick.
Because what part of how depression works is that you self-rationalize your own self-hatred, so then you start making yourself do bad things so that people will justify your hatred of yourself.
Yeah, exactly, because why would anyone want to be around you? So might as well just make it a self-fulfilling prophecy.
I should start a mental health podcast.
I honestly have thought about it before, or as like a stream, just to.
I actually had to. Although mine, the one I pitched, but I just don't have the energy for it. Not with my 40-hour work week.
And your 5 games and etc.
Yeah, my 4 games. The one I pitched was like a how to cope with climate catastrophe.
It's very stressful. Or even climate catastrophe, pandemic. I mean, so many things you can be anxious about.
How to cope with, like the fact that we, how to cope with the apocalypse.
The world is falling apart. How to maintain your sanity.
Which, on a side note, if you are interested in this, I am currently reading a book on the topic called "From What If to From What Is to What If," and it's all about how we imagine better futures. And like,
who's the author? Just in case people are interested.
That's a good question. Let me look that up. What is to what if? Google that. Rob Hopkins.
Rob Hopkins. What is to what if? I think that's good. I think it's good to start visualizing other ways of being, because I think a lot of people, when they think about what they can do or ask what they can do, especially organizing, like, or I know around the strike at York, when it looked like there was going to be a strike, a lot of students were like, we can't do anything. And I'm
Mhm.
like, you can always organize. You
Yeah,
can
and so
always organize. You can
and so it's
always
all
do something.
so yeah, it doesn't tell you what to envision, just like how to call or what it doesn't tell you like what to imagine the future, just like techniques on how to imagine what a better world might
Yeah.
be.
And I think
Um,
that's the thing that's important, is really just starting that process for yourself, is because imagining anything is important, because that's the most important thing, is that the idea that we can't do anything is propaganda, I think. Um
Absolutely.
and it yep,
Capitalist realism is the term that is most common used. The idea that it is easier to imagine the end of the world than it is to imagine the world without capitalism.
capitalist realism. Okay, I'll remember that. But I think it fits in very well with what I see, which is this idea that, only institutions and governments can affect any change, and individual people and organizations, groups can't affect any change. There's nothing we can do.
Change happens to the community level.
And
Anyways, to bring it back to Star Trek, that is why Star
yes,
Trek's important.
that is why Star Trek's important, because Star Trek shows that if people work together, especially Discovery is all about communication and coming together and appealing to people's better nature. And if you just find ways to connect, everything will work out.
So, or like maybe it won't work out, but like it'll certainly be like that. If you don't do that, then you're doomed to fail for sure.
Mhm.
Like, yeah. So, anyways, like this is explicitly why Star Trek is one of the few franchises we have that actively envisions a better world. Like as much as I love Marvel, Marvel's all about maintaining status quo. Um,
Marvel is definitely, it's about it's basically a Marvel superheroes are basically like a repositioning of the Western hero.
yeah,
So everything from Westerns comes from is put into superhero stuff.
yeah,
And I think there's after 9/11, there's a certain appeal to invincibility, and people who are always right and going to go and get the bad guys.
yeah.
Um, and I think that's what there was a theory that America needed that.
I love superheroes. I love superheroes as mythology.
Hmm.
As I kind of watch them as uh I don't watch them as like I don't watch them as real people. These are not places to get stories of real people. I enjoy them as mythology. So it's like reading this. For me, watching Iron Man is like reading the Odyssey.
Hmm. Yeah, I think weirdly, I think Star Trek, you can see a lot more of our world in that than you can, like, superhero kind
Yeah.
of thing.
So yeah.
Uh,
Anyways, the
so
reason, the reason why I love Star Trek is because it's one of the few things that can help us envision a better world.
even if it's a specific better world, at least it's better. And it's a start.
I would not seek to create the world of Star Trek. That is not where my morals or ethics lie. But the mere fact that they are taking the time to envision a world that is genuinely better. Like I love the Expanse, but the Expanse is like the Expanse.
The Spence is pretty terrible. Yeah.
Well,
It's not good for anybody.
The Expanse is built on a continuation of our current. Like the idea
Yeah.
of the Expanse is that like all the conflicts that we have now just get expanded into the future, and that's interesting in its own right. And I think it has its space. I don't think the Expanse is by any bad. I think it's fantastic. But it's not where I go to if I want to kindle a positive worldview.
Yeah, it's just extended class warfare and bigotry,
Yeah,
nationalism, right? So,
yeah,
which I mean makes a certain amount of sense, but it's not a happy world to imagine living in
yeah.
necessarily.
And that's,
Uh,
I mean, you can also get into like that's why I'm not fully vibing with this season's Picard. Not that I think it's bad. I don't think it's bad, but it's like this is not. This is why I'm so interested in where the thesis is going,
mhm.
because like this isn't what I want from Star Trek, and like I understand that like people want different things from Star Trek, and like what I want does not necessarily matter. This is not like I don't want to be like those Batman fanboys who complain that like my Batman isn't edgy enough. Um, but I find that what the sort of the hope, the positive vibes, that I'm looking for from Star Trek aren't in Picard, and that doesn't mean they won't get there. Like I said, they're playing with these themes. They're kind of dancing around them, and that's why I'm so curious about what the thesis is.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's not particularly hopeful this season. And I'm sure they're going to get there, but like things just keep getting from bad to worse.
Well, I mean, Discovery was like that too. Was pretty like Discovery was pretty bleak for much of like and then the ending came around. It's like super fucking hopeful ending, because like it built up this idea that like no, what you
Yeah.
do is like be the hope in darkness. And
Yeah,
that's why like
Discovery, we were pretty sure for a while that the 10C just didn't care. That they were that they were destroying everything. Like
yep,
we were pretty sure that if they had that kind of advanced technology, they just didn't give a shit.
I certainly didn't think that, but yeah, like I know Gary was dead set on that.
Well,
Um,
he was fairly sure, and I was wondering,
mhm.
and it turned out they were just not fully aware. But it was definitely something that was brought up in the show too, right?
Yeah.
So one of the things that's interesting, and I kind of wonder about, is Q was not able to be summoned by this Elorian ritual, which I really enjoyed actually, because it was like, oh, it brought out more of this history between the Elorians and the Q,
Yeah,
which I'm
I'm happy
fascinated.
I'm happy it didn't summon them because I thought that would have been too convenient.
Um, but the question is partially why.
Yeah.
But first off, like, great that we know more about what happened between them, even though not a lot, but a little bit. Um, but with the summoning, it didn't work. It should have worked. Why didn't it work? Is it because Q isn't Q anymore, or because he's sick and his powers are waning?
I think it's very much he's sick and his powers are waning. I wouldn't be surprised if he got the message and couldn't show up.
Yeah, that's a possibility. Like he was just incapable of like snapping his fingers or whatever. Like he felt a pull, but he couldn't do it, or he just
Yeah,
heard it and couldn't move.
that's my suspicion. So I think when he does come back in the show, he'll be aware that something happened, but didn't answer it
Mhm.
because his powers are failing.
Yeah. And I honestly think that's what he wants Soon to help with. I don't know how he expects that to happen, or if that's even possible, but it's very interesting. I would think that honestly Guinan would be more able to do so, but obviously they do not have those two people do not have a relationship where that is a possibility.
Yeah, and like yeah, Guinan's not going to help a Q.
No. Well, no,
Um,
Olorian is going to help a Q, I think.
yeah, I
Um
mean
Go on.
maybe now that there's like now that she's involved, I could see her, but like certainly if Q just showed up being like, "I need your help," she'd like fuck off.
Yeah. So, the other thing again that I'm sort of concerned slash confused about is the assimilation thing. I suppose we'll see about how that goes over the next few episodes. And I don't know. I'm kind of hoping too that Agnes has more up her sleeve than just being taken over. She seems to have been smarter than that in the past and more able to handle the situation.
Yeah, it is weird that she went from being super competent to just like losing it like that.
Mm,
Like so, yeah, I'm kind of with you there. I don't know what.
I don't know either, but yeah, it does seem strange that, like, I understand that she didn't know how the nanoprobes, whatever, don't work with her chemistry, her body chemistry. But at the same time, I am not entirely like sure that she should just be able to be taken over. And yeah.
Yeah, I think I definitely think Agnes has some something up her sleeve. I don't think Agnes is like completely taken over by the Borg Queen yet.
Mhm.
But it is weird that like she went from like completely trumping the Borg Queen to now being completely at her mercy.
Mhm. And when Guinan and Picard were arrested, Picard left his comm badge in the
Mhm.
bar. I assume so the FBI didn't get a hold of it.
Yeah.
So they won't be able to track where he is, but they will be able to track where he was last.
All right.
Um,
Crazy pie in the sky theory. That definitely is not true, but I'm going to throw it out there anyway because it's fun.
mhm.
The Empress is there.
That would be pretty cool. I would enjoy that. I don't know that she will be, but that would be
Yes,
pretty cool.
she won't. She won't. It's it's a million to one shot. Like it's not going to happen, but I think it'd be really funny.
It's just as likely as Prime Lorca, I suppose. So you
Yeah.
never know. You never know. You never know. You could see anybody. Anyone could show up. Who knows? But I'm curious to see what happens with the FBI. I assume it is some sort of like X-Files type, FBI agency.
Yeah.
That guy was pretty amusing, to be honest. I knew he was up to something.
I really thought he was going to be Time Cops. I'm really surprised he wasn't Time Cops. He
I
led into
wondered if
that.
he was Q for a second. I'm like, did they just summon another Q
That
somehow?
had also occurred to me.
But turns out no.
Like, but then Guinan was like, he's not Q. I don't know what's going on. So I'm like, oh, she would probably know.
Yeah, she would probably know. She would probably know. So that's something I'm curious to see what happens too. Maybe Seven and Rafi will have to break someone else out of prison again.
That this is a reoccurring theme. You're right, because like they've already done this with Rios.
Maybe they'll do it again. They really seem to be good at it and enjoy it. So work with your strengths. Why not? Why not?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't like I said, I have a good idea on where the like I really think that Borg Queen is going to be the main threat for season 3. I don't think they're resolving that plot line. But I don't know where they're going within this season.
Yeah, I'm still not sure about it either. It's hard to see. Like, I mean, aside from like seeing that, I think what's gonna happen with Rios, like that seems a little bit clearer. But otherwise, I'm sort of like, I don't know. I don't
Yeah.
know. I think they are going to get out of this time situation, but I'm
Oh,
not
for
really
sure.
sure other than that,
Yeah.
how this is gonna work out. Like I've got literally nothing. Um
Yeah. Like I don't know where they're going with this.
yeah,
Um.
it's very interesting, but at the same time sort of confusing.
Yeah.
So
Like I said, I can't draw a clear thesis from it. I don't know what they're trying to say. I don't know what to make of it. It's by no means bad. It's definitely better than season 1. It's definitely more confident than season 1. But I just don't know I don't know what to make of any of it.
yeah, I mean I've been enjoying it, but I'm not entirely sure what's going on. So the next episode is coming on the 21st, this Thursday. I really apparently there's a trailer, but there's nothing in terms of like a recap for it that I've really seen,
Yeah,
like a synopsis or anything.
I haven't been watching the trailers. I've been going every episode fresh.
Yeah, I tend to. I tend to see like if there's like a log line or something like that. I haven't even seen anything about that. It's called Mercy. And that's about all I know. Um Curious to see what happens there. I assume Renee will be going into space. I assume
Yeah,
that's
I
part of
mean,
it.
they dropped Renee completely for last episode, so they're going to have to get back to her.
Yeah, I'm assuming so. Um I don't really know. Yeah. Like I mean that mission is gonna have to go or not. And she's in quarantine, so only happens for a few days.
Yeah.
So I assume she will be going up pretty soon. Um Other than that, yeah, I'm still not entirely sure. I've been enjoying like everyone's arc more or less. Yeah, I think mostly I've been enjoying Rio's the most. Um
He definitely seems to be having the most fun in and out of character
mhm,
with it.
yeah.
I just like I don't I'm still trying to figure out what the thesis of the show is. Like even with Discovery, even though like the thesis didn't come together until the very end, I still knew what the thesis was by episode 7.
Well, they're certainly in this last episode in Monsters, they're certainly talking about like where I said that I could see where it was going for next season. The whole therapy session talking about how Picard, like, your friends even call you captain
Yeah.
and all of these things. Like, um, I see where it's going, where he has to have a closer relationship with those people that have been his best friends, the one that he knows the
Yeah.
best, like that Enterprise crew. He's not actually particularly close with them. They don't
I
know
don't
him as well as a person.
I wonder if we're gonna get the Enterprise crew at the end of this season. I wonder if we're
Maybe,
gonna get like a teaser where they all show up
maybe.
just for like one scene at the very end of the season.
But I wonder if that was part of like showing Riker and Troy and their kid and everything.
Mhm.
I wonder if that was part of it in the first season to kind of like illustrate this whole thing about him being stuck in one place and never really trying to like
Right, because
even though he went through this memory and realized what had happened, like Tallinn is like, no, there's more to this. You have to investigate it. And he's like, I don't have time for that.
yeah,
And you see how it continues to hold him back. And in the first season, we see like Riker and Troy had these problems and had issues, but they continued to try and be together, continued to try and have a relationship and had kids and were able to be happy and were able to, like
yeah.
have a
Well,
life
the
outside
fact
of
that
Starfleet.
the fact that Picard exists in a state of arrested development is definitely a theme. Like it's definitely a theme of the season. Absolutely, 100%, no questions.
Hmm. They're trying to certainly show that and show, I think, in some ways that the other Picard. I don't know if they're saying that both cards were. I don't know.
Well, we haven't really met the other Picard. Like we just saw his trophy room and saw he was a colossal asshole.
He was alone too, though. And I mean, like, if you look at it, like, maybe he's always alone if he doesn't deal with these things. I don't know. I don't know. But the point is he's alone. He hasn't dealt with his past.
Yeah,
And like a big part of him dealing with his past is going to have to be dealing with these people that he spent most of his life with and hasn't really let in, hasn't let
yeah,
them know him at all.
yeah, absolutely. Like that's absolutely where this is going.
And I can see that, and that's why I was like so much like, oh, the queen has red hair because Beverly Crusher is this massive part of his
Yeah,
life.
I definitely don't. I don't like. I didn't even catch it, and I mean, maybe had I caught it, I'd feel stronger towards it. I'm not saying you're wrong,
He
but
said specifically, the only reason I said it, he's like the queen with red hair. Like he narrated it, and
yeah, I just thought I didn't gronk that his mother didn't have red hair before, so I just thought he was referring to his mother, and I thought that was unusual.
mhm.
But like also Bev isn't like a queen. I guess we don't know where she's at right now, so maybe we'll find that out in season 3.
No, but she's a mother too, so I don't know. Like queens in the tarot are often older women. Queen of Pentacles is a mother. I don't know. It could be a stretch, but it just seemed to me like a Beverly Crusher kind of relation.
Yeah, I don't want to say there's nothing there because I don't know. I don't want to say you're wrong because I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm also not willing to fully commit to that idea either.
Mm-hmm. So, next 3 episodes, we definitely see them getting out of this timeline. Rio's probably staying.
Yeah, I definitely think you called that. I definitely do think that you are 100% correct there.
Yeah.
I think Rio staying is probably a likelihood.
Probably Rafi and Seven either reconciling or continuing their on again, off again relationship. I don't know.
Yeah, we never got to see them as a couple. We saw them being affectionate at the very last scene of Picard season 1, and then they're broken up by season 2. And I'm disappointed that like we didn't get to. I don't mind them being broken up. Like lesbian relationships are as complicated as any other relationship, but I'm disappointed that we never got to see them as a couple.
I mean, Chris says they're not really broken up. Like when someone asks, I forget who, he's like, they're not really together, but they're not really broken up, I think was the explanation.
I don't think that doesn't help my frustration.
No, it doesn't. But I mean, I think I think they have a complicated relationship. But it would be nice to see them be, just happy. But they're also the same person. They're not like, that's kind of what I like about them is a lot of ways they're the same person. And I don't see a relationship, unfortunately, between them being an easy thing.
Yeah, I don't mind them having, like I said, it's not that they have a complex relationship. That's the problem. We've never seen them even be affectionate towards each other,
except for that last scene.
Except for that one scene that contextless scene at the end of season 1.
Yeah.
We've never seen them kiss. We've never seen them like. We've seen nothing but them be strained towards each other.
Well, have sexual tension arguments, basically. Yeah.
Like I feel like we're missing, and like I don't mind that they went there. Like I said, lesbian relationships are also complicated. So I don't mind that they have a complicated relationship. I just wish we got to see more of it before we got to this stage.
Yeah. I agree with that. I mean, on the plus side, we didn't see anybody's relationship. So
yeah, we also didn't see Girardi and
Rio's together. No, we just saw that they broke up. So
although
there you go.
Them I don't mind as much because, like, once again, part of the frustration, we've never seen a lesbian relationship in Star Trek.
Oh yeah, and 100%. Like, I mean, I was just saying on the plus side, we didn't have to see a hetero relationship and no lesbian relationship at all. We just saw that these dysfunctional people, tried to get together, and that did not work out at all.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I hope we see more of it. I hope we get to see something at some point for those two. Like, I would be really upset if they just broke them up without like any without any affection or any any relationship there between them.
Yeah. I think we'll probably see some sort of reconciliation because they do seem to be going through a lot and kind of learning to work together because it's necessary. And so yeah, them probably finding some sort of equilibrium. I see, yeah, the Rio staying. And I feel like we need to have Girardi reassert control somehow. I don't think this is just Borg Queen running wild for the rest of the season.
No, well,
If it does happen, I'll be really disappointed because that kind of undermines that character, but who knows?
if I'm right, and who Lord knows, I've been wrong about several predictions, but if I'm right, we will see her assert some control at the very end. That's assuming I'm right, which once again I've been wrong about several predictions. So take anything I say with a grain of salt. But
yeah,
like I do expect that the Borg Queen at the start of the season was Jurati, and that was her specifically trying to assert control to get help from Picard.
yeah, and I'm not sure what's gonna happen with T'Lyn. She seemed a lot more inclined towards Picard at the end of this episode.
Yeah,
and a lot more comfortable with him, but she'd been in his brain, so I mean,
yeah,
that's expected. Not sure how that's gonna go. I'm curious, but I don't know. I'm not sure. And obviously, we got to see Renee go to Europa to Io. So hopefully, all of those things will happen. Hopefully, Renee will go take off pretty soon.
What was T'Lyn's contemporary like in the future name again? I was gonna say
Laris.
Okay, yeah. T'Lyn is a Vulcan character from Shields of Tomorrow.
Ah, okay.
That's I'm like it's I was T'Lyn. No, T'Lyn's from something else. Laris, yes. So I wonder if this like part of me does wonder if we're going to see Picard settle down with Laris. Although like Laris and Beverly are set up very, very similarly.
Well, he has a type. I mean, like there is that, right? So
you mean people under his? You mean women under his employ whose husband died on him?
Yes, there's that.
He has a type.
Number one, and women who tell him what to do and try and take care of him. So, yeah,
he needs mommy dom.
I mean, he has mommy issues. Like obviously,
he's looking for a mommy dom. Is what I'm taking from this conversation.
Well, I mean. We have seen his mommy issues play out several times. So, and as I said to Gary, that Star Trek is bad dads and dead parents all the way down. Yep, bad dads and dead parents. That's Star Trek. Bad dads and dead parents. Then Sarek, is Sarek a good dad? No, he tried. He tried. And he's like, my kids are going to act like Vulcans, even if they're not. Hey.
Are you this from something or are you just improvising this?
I'm improvising it. I'm just singing a little song about bad dads and dead parents.
I wasn't sure because at first it sounded like you were singing something, and then it went. I'm like, oh, this sounds like improv, and I
just make up little songs sometimes. No, but yes, yeah, no. I just started thinking about it. I'm like, Wesley, dead dad. James Kirk, dead dad. Picard, bad parents.
Although possibly not Kirk. Although switching away from the TV shows, possibly not dead dad for Kirk going forward.
Oh yeah, maybe not dead dad for Kirk. Who knows? Dead maybe. Who knows? Michael, their parents were dead.
So if we can switch to the movies for a second. So they ran because have you heard the rumors about the movie?
Well, no.
So Star Trek 4 is back in production.
Mm-hmm.
And they ran into this thing where they cast Chris Hemsworth before Thor.
Oh yeah. I remember, and he died. Yeah,
and he died. But they're just like, oh shit, Chris Hemsworth's hot shit now. So it sounds like, at least like, I don't know, for they were going to bring him back for Star Trek 4.
Doesn't he have enough to do? Like, doesn't he have enough work right now, Chris Hemsworth? He's really busy.
I don't actually know what he's doing other than
Love and Thunder.
That's done. That's wrapped.
He did the Netflix movie. I don't know what else. I don't know. Yeah. Well, he does. He has his business, but he just sold that too.
And Guardians of the Galaxy, with like that's it. I don't know how big a role he's playing in that, but So, anyways, they were originally they were to bring him back, as Kirk's dad. That movie got shelved because Star Trek 3 underperformed, despite the fact that it is wonderful.
So yeah,
James
that's
Lynn,
interesting. They might bring him
James
back.
Lynn can direct the shit out of Star Trek.
James Lynn is a great director. That's why he's just good at everything.
Anyways, but Star Trek 4 was put back into production. I don't know if they're using that script or not, though. They might be writing a whole new script for it. I do not know. But I would not be shocked if suddenly Kirk has a dad.
Again. Who knows?
Again.
But Michael thought her mom was dead, and her dad is dead. Mom's not dead. She's just hardcore Romulan ninja. And not the only human to do it. And Eleanor's the only guy. So got Mary Sue's all over the place. It's just funny. It's funny. It amuses me. But yeah, dead parents or parents that they think are dead, because everybody comes back in Star Trek apparently. So yeah, James Kirk's dad can come back because Star Trek, nobody really dies. It's like Marvel.
We've talked about this. I was really upset with Shaq coming back in Lower Decks, but then I thought how they did it was so hilarious.
It was very funny.
So on the nose that I couldn't hold it against them.
We never talk about how we come back. Don't ever ask about that again. That's how they have to have Chris Hemsworth come back. If he comes back like that, if they never talk about how we come back, then it's acceptable. I accept that. If that's how Kirk's dad comes back, like Shax did. If he had to fight, if he had to fight 3 versions of his father to return,
with them, it's with Chris Hemsworth. It's clearly just like, oh shit, we have star power. Accidentally, we have star power. We have to do something with this.
They just need to cast him in more comedies, to be honest, because he's funny as hell. And he needs to be funny more. Don't waste him on Star Trek. He's too funny for that.
Unrelated, I have not seen Our Flag Means Death yet, but
neither have I. I need to watch that 100%.
It's apparently gay AF.
Yep. And there was a Polygon article about role-playing games to play for Our Flag Means Death and Bridgerton, and 7C was not on it. I was deeply offended. I'm like, I mean, 7C is gay as AF too, to be honest.
So for those not watching, Nicole, along with some lefty YouTube types, plays in 7C that I run, and I have complaints. Mostly
about 7C?
Yeah, mostly revolving around how broken its magic system is. Jesus fuck. You guys did some shit that there's no reasonable...
It's not very clear, no.
Yeah. Well,
I didn't do anything. I did some magic stuff, but...
You weren't there. You were absent for the game where they defeated the villain in one action by using some shady magic shit, because that game is fucking broken.
The point is in the game to succeed.
They separated the main villain's mind from his body permanently with one magical act.
Wow,
that was totally permitted.
The sorte.
It was the sort of thing. No, it wasn't with sorte. It was with the demon magic.
The demon magic. Oh my god. Okay. I did not write the demon magic.
It was right there in the books. There was no way I could say no to this. So I had to rewrite a good chunk of my plot to accommodate this.
Oops.
I don't even mind that they were able to do it. I just think the cost, magic in 7C magic needs to cost more, I think. Because magic's supposed to be rare. I got 3. You're the only non-magic user in the game. So I got, out of a cast of 4, I have 3 magic users.
Oh my god. Well,
because there's no reason not to. There's no reason not to. So I think when should you ever do 4th edition, magic needs to be I don't think magic should be gone. I think magic's important to the setting, but I think magic needs to be cost more.
Yeah, there's a lot of every nation has a different sort of magical thing.
I I mean, we're well Star Trek now, but I really think the fact that magic is cultural in 7th Sea is dope. It's one of my favorite things about it.
It is, but some of them are not. Like once you learn it, it's not. It doesn't seem very hard to use. And I mean, I have one. I one of the things I wrote, like one of the highest things, is like, you call a giant freaking sandworm. You call like lightning from the sky that blows everything up, and that's at the highest level. But the cost is not very high. And it's like I call lightning from the sky and blow something up. And I'm like, okay, great. I mean, you can do that. Okay, cool. Well, I wrote it.
Mexi, who's not an experienced role player, she did not do this, was able to min-max her character and get maximum levels of sorte off character creation.
And she's untrained in game, right? Like she's
so,
she's not trained, so she's just running around with like max sorte and no training. And here are tarot cards.
I don't fault her for that. Like I said, she's not experienced. She's not a particularly experienced role player. So her like intentionally.
It was a fluke.
She doesn't have the experience to do that yet. But the fact that she could, in fact, she's having an easier time. Although it's interesting that she's having an easier time with the system than the experienced role players are. Her boyfriend, who's a very experienced role player, is having a real hard time with the system because he just doesn't understand how raises work. So that is interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of the problem is, I mean, this is not unique to 7th Sea. I think it's a lot of role-playing game books is they're not written in a super intuitive way to learn how to play the game.
Yeah.
And so it becomes very difficult to, just find like when you were first generating characters or we were first running in the game, just to find like, how do we do this? And what is a raise? And how does it work? And how does magic work in this way?
Yeah. Like I read the book cover to cover and I had problems with that.
Yeah. It's hard to remember, and B, like indexes are shit. And that's one of the big problems. Like sometimes you need to go and have what they call an SRD up on a web page, and I forget what SRD stands for. I'm a bad developer, but basically it's a website that has an index that you can search through to find, what page is this on and what book is it on, and it often has a lot of the information that you might not have, so you can actually find things in your freaking book. Which is pretty sad that someone has to create a whole website for you to be able to find things in your book that you should be able to find.
Both D&D and Pathfinder have this problem in spades.
Oh yeah. I mean, I know Gary's 5th edition like D&D book is like bookmarked with all the things that he's nodding because he's in the room right now. Bookmarked with all the things that he needs to know where they are, because it's not like it's intuitively set up or the index is useful in any way.
Yeah. So, and like, yeah, as much as I love World of Darkness, my God, they're indexing. Although I have to say, the recent books, like
Motifus has done a pretty good job with those. Yeah.
Well, even the recent Chronicles of Darkness book, like, I have changed in the Lost 2nd edition here. It is well indexed.
That's good. That's good. So good for Onyx Path as well. How are the Star Trek Adventures books, actually, to bring it back to Star Trek, since they're, you have those and you've played them?
I have not played them. I do have them. I have read them, but I have never actually run it. As a system, I'm meh. I do watch Star Trek Adventure actual play, Shields of Tomorrow, which I referenced earlier. I'm almost done it. It's like 3 years old now.
Oh my God.
But as a system, it's fine. It's a serviceable system. I don't think it's not like it's not like when I read Alien, I'm like, this is a great system for Alien. When I read Star Trek Adventures, I was like, this is a serviceable system for Star Trek. I don't think it's particularly great. I don't think it's particularly bad. I think it does what it needs to do. I would have loved to have seen a system. I think it's the same system they used for Conan. I would have loved to have seen a system specifically designed for Star Trek, but it gets the job done.
And how is it organized? Is it like well organized, or is it pretty much organized like every role playing game book, which is to say terribly?
They're really pretty books. Oh, my core book's probably on my main bookshelf, but I have some of the supplements here.
Your camera is frozen on my end, actually. Just FYI.
Okay.
I mean, it could be working for other people. I don't know.
On an organizational level, they're pretty much like every other role playing book. Like they're a little bit better indexed, but only a little bit better indexed. Like the supplements at least have indexes. Like you can't see it, but
oh, I can see it now. There we go.
Apparently, when my screensaver turns on, I freeze.
There you go.
So this is a supplement. So a supplement at least has an index,
which a lot of supplements don't.
Yeah,
you would be surprised, but they do not.
You'll get indexes in the core book and none for the supplements.
Which is why you need an SRD.
They're done in that very classic, like Star Trek, TNG,
the Lacars kind of, yeah.
Like they look like they're done in that aesthetic. The Discovery one's coming out soon. I will absolutely be picking up the Discovery book. I wonder if they're going to keep that aesthetic or if they're going to go with something that looks more like Discovery.
I would love a Discovery. Yeah, I was just going to say a Discovery book would be great, and a Discovery game would be really interesting. I think
they announced a license for it some time ago, but they just threw up the Discovery. Like they just announced that's coming. So they announced they acquired the license, and then for like 2 years did nothing. And now they have just announced that it is coming. I think it's going to be coming alongside the Player's Guide. They're doing a Picard book as well. Nothing for Lower Decks.
Well, I mean, Lower Decks is basically TNG, so
it's mechanically and systemically TNG, tonally. Like I would like to see them do Lower Decks just for not to change the mechanics up, but just be like, here's how you do the Lower Decks tone.
Yeah, you could do a supplement like a splat book or something like that pretty easily. I actually have a follower on Twitter who writes for Star Trek Adventures, so if you're ever watching, hey, hello, and thank you for your work on that. I'm looking forward to Discovery book. Yeah.
But yeah, like when we eventually run out of Trek, and it sounds like it might be a while because I think.
Oh my god! Because Strange New Worlds comes in May, and then Lower Decks is right after that, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Is it May? I think it's Strange New Worlds. The rest of Prodigy. Maybe?
Oh yeah, we still have the back half of Prodigy, don't we?
Yeah.
Yeah, because that was not the end. That was not the end of Prodigy. I keep forgetting. We have another like 7 episodes of Prodigy to go.
So I think it's the last bit of Prodigy after that, and then it's Lower Decks.
Yeah, and then it's Lower Decks. So we'll have
by then Discovery season 5 might be out.
Yeah,
they're already because they wrapped filming that recently.
I had almost gotten into a class. I didn't get into it because it's one of the most popular classes at Glendon, but I almost went into a class that was about failure of mediation and communication, and I was going to do my whole project on communicating with the 10C. Because I just love that so much. Anyway, back to Picard. Let's just wrap it up real quick. So Picard, we have a few things that we think we're going to see in the next episode. I guess maybe we might see another jailbreak. I'm thinking that might happen again. I'm hoping it isn't the same sort of like needing to hunt them down and find them as what happened with Rios.
We did that already. I hope something else happens. Like I really want to see like Picard free himself instead or something. Like just because I don't want a repeat of like the thing they did with Rios like 3 episodes ago.
I don't mind if they bust him out. I just don't want to go through the whole process of needing to find him and everything else. Blah blah blah. Especially since Seven and Raffi are sort of on the Agnes Board Queen beat right now. They've got other things to deal with too. I would love to see Agnes if Agnes is in there, Agnes doing something, Agnes attempting to reinsert some sort of control, that would be super nice. And yeah, I want to see more of Teresa and if the Teresa and Rios plot is going where we think it is.
I think that was a very good call. Like I didn't Gronk that, but the second you said it, I'm like, yeah, everything does seem to be leading to that. I definitely think that was a very strong prediction.
Yeah, the woman, the cigars and the peanut butter are gonna keep him there, I think. And the community. I think like just they've been hitting that so hard. I feel like that's gonna be one of the biggest things that makes him stay. He just seems to really be happy being able to speak Spanish. You know, like
yeah, and they're calling so many similarities to Voyage Home.
Yeah, I love that you remembered that line. Like I didn't know that at all, but that's great that that's a Kirk line. And there's so many similarities between Rios and Kirk. Actually, when you think about it, they're very similar people. They're prodigy pilots. They're nice guys who like to help people out and get themselves in trouble because they can't stop themselves from being involved in situations that they shouldn't.
And Voyage Home, I've seen, like, it's probably I don't rewatch movies very much, but man, it's probably the one movie I have seen over a dozen times.
That's really cool. That's not a favorite of many people's, I think, but the whale one. But that's awesome. I remember liking it a lot when I was a kid.
Yeah, no, mostly I watched it as a child. Like I've only watched it maybe once or twice as an adult, but it was as a child, it was on repeat watch. I loved it.
Yeah. Well, there have been a lot of call-outs through the season to that.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that line, also the punk rocker character.
Same guy, exact same guy. I love it. Same music. Like I really think they're going somewhere with that, and putting Chris in the James D. Kirk kind of position is great. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that.
Them calling it just to subvert it makes absolute sense.
I would love that, especially, but I mean, like you pointing out Teresa not being able to go was a big part of putting that into place. So that's great. Yeah. So I guess we'll see over the next couple episodes. We'll be back in 2 weeks. Next weekend is my birthday, so I'm going to be hanging out at the Royal York and watching the Raptors game, and hopefully we win, and so I can go out and party with everybody when it's done.
Next week should be the return of my political podcast. My political stream. I gotta tune in for that if you care about indigenous politics and like indigenous take on current affairs.
It'll be at a Bright Green City, or it will be simulcast on my stream as well. So you can find it in both places. I'm sure that they will be talking about something cool. So
yeah, definitely I don't know what we're going to be talking about yet. So I have no idea what we're going to be talking about. I also, I'm also going to be hosting an episode of Leftist Positive News at some time in the near future. I don't know when that's going to be premiering. I've got a collab coming with Princess Flowers at some point in the future. That's probably a ways off. Princess Flowers has some IRL stuff going on, not Vosh related IRL stuff. And she wants to get that dealt with before we sit down and collab. But that's also in the works. So I got shits on the go.
And Leftist Positive News is on Mexi's YouTube channel.
No, that's where it got started, but it is spun off onto its own channel. You can find it under Leftist Positive News. Or
Positive Leftist News on YouTube is where you can find that as well.
Yep.
And so and Mexi is part of our gaming group. So yeah, definitely support her in what she does. It's pretty awesome.
Oh, one thing I was going to say is when we got sidetracked, as us ADHD people tend to. I was going to say, when we do run out of Trek eventually, because we eventually will, we should do.
It doesn't feel like it, but eventually we will.
It may not be till 2004, but it will happen. We should do a Star Trek Adventures game.
For sure. Yeah, we should do like a discovery game, like a future discovery game.
Yeah, like
we could be careers. That would be cool. A career game.
Oh yeah. There's room for it. But first we gotta get a break.
Yeah, we gotta get some Star Trek break. Whenever there's a Star Trek break, I don't know if it'll ever happen, but hopefully it will. Picard will end. When Picard ends, there will be a break. There will be no more Picard eventually. So we'll get space in there somewhere.
We got an update on what's happening with Section 31, but we haven't gotten, like, it hasn't started filming or anything.
No, so I mean, between Picard and whenever Michelle Yeoh has time to do Star Trek, because she's so busy doing Turning Red and Everything Everywhere All at Once and every freaking Asian movie in the world, Shang-Chi, and every Asian movie that needs an Asian woman who is amazing and can kick ass.
If it needs a Chinese woman, like, just Michelle Yeoh's just in it, which is dope because I love her.
Yeah, like, I will watch anything, Everything Everywhere All at Once. I'm really excited to see.
I've been a huge fan of hers since the 90s when she was just like banging out like kung fu Chinese kung fu movies, like wushu movies. Back when she was like kicking Jackie Chan's ass.
I was super excited to see her in that James Bond movie. So I was like, I told her, you gotta watch Michelle Yeoh in this movie. Who is Michelle Yeoh? She's a badass. Is who she is. You have to watch her.
I have to say, I'm not a big fan of James Bond. It's the one thing from her I haven't seen.
No, it's a James Bond movie, but it was the only movie that most people would watch her in. So there you go. Anyway, so Picard, 2 weeks next week. Indigenous Politics stream. Watch it. 2 weeks, more Picard. We don't know what the hell will happen, but we're pretty sure Rios is not going back to the future.
Yeah, like I said, I definitely think that's a good call.
All right. So, and Agnes, fight back, please.
War 2 is almost done.
Oh my goodness, this is so good for your Lego time. You're just busting through. So anyway, we'll see you in 2 weeks. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Let us know your opinions. I'm at Noise Angel on Twitter. RC is at a Neon Green City. Let us know what you think. And yeah, hopefully, I guess we're not going to run out of Star Trek anytime soon. So we'll see you. We'll see you sometime soon. Thanks for watching and have a great week. Happy Easter, everyone.
See you, Space Cowboy.